Now, also, I want to say there was a clip that I had been looking for. There was a clip that I had been looking for when me and Rupert were up here talking about Javon. And so I stumbled across it completely by accident. Okay? Let's listen to this because if you remember, me and Rupert were talking about the timeline and how things weren't adding up and the math wasn't mathing. And then Rupert brought up the fact that Javon in an interview said something about 3:40 and 4 o'clock and having to go help his friend who was involved in a fight, coming back about 15 to 20 minutes later and the boat being gone. And so I have been looking for that clip. I don't want to watch Rage Badham Tatum's interviews all over again. It was torturous enough the first time. Even when we have to go through it to sift through the fine points and parts or whatever, that's torturous enough. But to have to literally watch the whole thing until I get to the part that I'm looking for, I just didn't want to do that. But luckily, like I said, when I wasn't even looking, I found it. So let's take a listen.
Catch this.
I want to say around 3:40, 4 o'clock, an altercation had happened between one of my other friends and checked on him for about 20 minutes, 20 to 15 minutes. I came back, Nolan's boat and the people that he was with were gone.
Last time I personally laid eyes on Nolan was at like 3 o'clock, and he was, front of the boat with the girl.
From the first report, this entire investigation has been based upon the timeline that was given to us by Warren and his friends, and then was stamped and sealed by Judge Ashley Cole. But as we've all seen, those timelines have never worked. That's why they're so confusing, because those timelines were just trails to lead to their version of the truth. But after a month later and a lot of talking, there are more pieces to the puzzle, revealing a pivotal 30-minute window when Nolan disappears. This timeline is built upon reports given to us before Nolan was found, and also through all the interviews from Nolan's so-called friends. The major events are pre-fight, then the fight 1 and 2, leaving the island, and then when most of the young people have gone and left the island. This is key because multiple reports the day after Nolan went missing say that most of the young people left the island by 5:45. The two anchors for this report are Javon's report, which happened around the time when Nolan was missing. That's why I'm using it. And then the screenshot, that famous viral video that we heard of that time of 4:01 after the second fight.
I want to say around 3:40, 4 o'clock, an altercation had happened between one of my other friends. I went and checked on him for about 20 minutes.
He leaves Nolan to go see about the first fight. The first fight happens from your boy Tristan when a white person comes and tries to police him about how he's talking to his white girlfriend. Shortly after, Carter, who is Warren's little brother, continues the fight closer towards the beach. And in that viral video, if you see the height of the individuals, they look a little bit shorter. And then this screenshot says that that video was taken after the second fight around 4:01.
4:01. And mind you, don't forget that Carter was supposedly defending Tristan when he got into that fight, according to Tristan's own words.
Tristan says that Nolan allegedly was not in the fight, but that he was out of frame in that video, which means he's still there. And from Warren, I think Nolan is still in the water by the boats. Warren puts the sequence of fight, second fight, and then him going to see the issues with the boat. There is no way that the last time that he saw Nolan was at 3 p.m. because this is now 4 o'clock.
So you get ready to go.
So busted in yet another lie. Okay, I want you all to pay attention.
There's an issue with the boat.
Okay, yeah.
And this is what
this led up to that. That's what I'm saying.
So the fight happened with your brother, or a little scuffle.
We're getting closer to that 4:30 p.m. departure time from the GPS, but that doesn't mean that that's when they try to start leaving the island.
I came back, Nolan's boat and the people that he was with were gone.
To me, this is the infamous moment where Warren claims that they said for Nolan to get on the boat, but then Katie says that she thought he left with them.
Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And like, no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking.
The thing about the two boats that I said, there were two boats tied up. So therefore, I didn't know which boat Nolan exactly was on because they're both tied up.
This is key. Javon says the boats, plural, are gone, and then Nolan was gone. This is so important. Trayston leaves the island in his boat, but then also all three boats that came to the island leave around the same time. Warren said the Palm Beach had left, the Triton that we know about, and then the tide line is Bart's boat. Here's why I think we should rule out option one, that Nolan stayed behind. Because one, Katie was still right there. Javon, his real best friend, was still there, and even his coach was there around 3:30. So how does he not see any of those people? So in my opinion, he either leaves in a boat, the timeline kind of pushes him to that type of decision, or he's still in the water when there are boats moving around and these kids are intoxicated or possibly caught in another fight that carries on after the second one, and then multiple boats leave. Did y'all catch this?
Okay. That makes a whole lot of sense because as far as I'm concerned, now remember, the CETO call was around 4 o'clock and they were on the call for approximately 8 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, like we told you all last night, Javon said it was around 3:40. He went to go check on his friend for about 20 minutes. And when he came back, Nolan and his friends on the boats were gone. So that sounds exactly right. That sounds exactly right. And also, it lets us know that Jax was the one during the Rage Batum Tatum interview that told the truth about how far they were from the shore. Warren tried to make it seem as though they were closer, to make it seem as though that if anyone did anything to Nolan on the boat, then other people would have seen, but no one would have seen because they were farther out. Okay? They were farther out, so nobody would have seen them. And how do we know that? Because Javon didn't see them. Javon said they were gone. So clearly they were not close to the shoreline. Clearly, they were not in the shallow water because he would have seen them. Now, Hipster says, isn't it funny? Not one of the boys mentioned in any interview that Trayston said, give me my effing phone. Yet it changed to everyone heard a friend ask Nolan, get on the effing boat. The cover is up. Okay, good point, beloved. Good point. Because Trayston did say that was him that said, give me the phone. Didn't he say that in that first interview where he only had his audio but didn't show his face? He already took the blame for that. But they sure didn't say anything about it in Rage Batum Tatum's interview. Thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay. Now, with that all being said, let's continue. Because this old man right here, he was trying to be sarcastic, but he really sounds like he just told us exactly what the hell happened.
How y'all doing this morning? Let's talk about the Nolan Wells thing for a second. I was on a live last night, and this is the honest to God's truth, and I'm going to even post in the hashtags where you can go find and listen to it. So here's what happened. They killed Nolan Wells on the boat. They covered him up with the life jackets. They all knew he was on the boat. They just laid him on the back of the boat and got towed in part of the way. Then they got their boat running and they got on in. And when they got in, they couldn't figure out where they were going to put him or what they were going to do. So they dropped everybody off. Then they went back out to the island that the GPS doesn't show, but they did because they disconnected it. Okay. And none of them had their phones with them when they went back. So there wasn't any trace of them going back. and they dumped the body. They came back, took the boat out of the water, then went over there at 3 a.m. and washed the boat, thinking washing the boat would get all the DNA and everything off the boat. That's what they did. Now, I'm telling you, the stories are unbelievable at this point. You can't make this up.
Okay, so like I told you all, this guy is trying to be sarcastic in my opinion, but he was literally on a TikTok live and he heard people saying these things, and this is what they came to. This is the conclusion that they came to as to how it happened. But the funny thing is, there's actually a picture of a boat full of life jackets. And remember when they called Cito, okay, the lady asked them, did they have life jackets? And they said yes. Now, she probably thought they had them on, honey, but they were all loaded up in a boat that was behind them. So what was really under there? Okay, and like I said, he was being sarcastic. I don't think that he believed what the people were saying in the live, but it sounds like he just gave us something that absolutely seems pretty plausible, if you ask me. Okay, please pay attention. Okay, so like I told you all, this guy is trying to be sarcastic in my opinion, but he was literally on a TikTok live and he heard people saying these things, and this is what they came to. This is the conclusion that they came to as to how it happened. But the funny thing is, there's actually a picture of a boat full of life jackets. And remember when they called Cito, okay, the lady asked them, did they have life jackets? And they said yes. Now, she probably thought they had them on, honey, but they were all loaded up in a boat that was behind them. So what was really under there? Okay, and like I said, he was being sarcastic. I don't think that he believed what the people were saying in the live, but it sounds like he just gave us something that absolutely seems pretty plausible, if you ask me. Okay, please pay attention.